Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys Week 17 wide receiver rankings for fantasy football in 2020. Inside this video, I'm going to be discussing my top 32 ranked wide receivers for week number 17 and be discussing why I have them ranked where I do inside of that top 32. Now, before we get deep into it, I'd like to ask if that at any point inside this video, if you guys are new and you end up enjoying it, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. And real quick, before we get deep into it, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends, my sponsor over at OverlayDFS.com. OverlayDFS.com is the best place to play daily fantasy sports on the whole World Wide Web. Now, there's two options on their website. You got the progressive tournaments, which I talked about in last week's videos. In this week's videos, we're going to be talking about the match-up shop on OverlayDFS.com. What is that? It is so simple. You pick between two players, plus or minus the spread. Who's going to score more fantasy points on Sunday Night Football? Was it Jarvis Landry minus 3.5 or Rashad Higgins plus 3.5? The answer was Jarvis Landry minus 3.5. Who scores more fantasy points? Baker Mayfield minus 2.5 or Nick Chubb plus 2.5? The answer was Baker Mayfield. It is so simple. Anyone can do it. You guys do so much research to win your matchups every single week. Why not get some nice cashola on the upside here? Win these games on OverlayDFS.com. It is so simple. I don't think the upside made sense there, but what does make sense is winning money. It's easy. OverlayDFS.com, link down below in the description. And we are back. Let's get into it. Week 17 wide receiver rankings. We begin with number 1, Davante Adams at the Chi-Town Bears. Now, the Green Bay Packers are going to be trying to play spoiler to the Chicago Bears, and they're also trying to secure that number 1 spot in the NFC, which is even more important this season because of the fact that only one team ends up getting a bye, the leader in the AFC and the leader in the NFC. So it's very vital for a team like the Green Bay Packers to get that bye locked up here, and Davante Adams will be a big part in this game plan. Up against the Chicago Bears, I expect a very big game out of Davante Adams. And number 2, we have Calvin Ridley at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I know there's definitely worries. Oh, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are so much better than the Falcons with the defense, this, that, and the other fucking thing. Who gives a fuck? Calvin Ridley and Matt Ryan are on a unreal connection type of level here. Without Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley should be able to have a monster game here up against the Bucs. And number 3, we have A.J. Brown at the Houston Texans. The Tennessee Titans are also in a must-win game kind of a scenario. Now, if they lose, it would be pretty unlikely that they end up missing the playoffs. But again, you want to try to control your own destiny in the fucking playoffs. If they lose this game, there is potential that they end up getting knocked out of the playoffs. So I expect A.J. Brown and friends to go absolute apeshit on a bum Houston Texans defense. And number 4, we have DeAndre Hopkins at the LA Rams. Another case of a team trying to win to get into the playoffs. The LA Rams are playing quarterback John Wolford. That's right, John Wolford, I think is his name. You've probably never heard of him, and I haven't either. DeAndre Hopkins definitely could have the opportunity to play very good in this one. Obviously, he's playing up against a tough defense in the LA Rams, but DeAndre Hopkins has proved to us this season that the guy's matchup proof, so I don't look too deep into the matchup with a guy as talented as DeAndre Hopkins. And number 5, we have Justin Jefferson at the Detroit Lions. This is a case of the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions, both having nothing to play for, but with Dalvin Cook out in this one, I expect this one to be a very pass-heavy attack from the Minnesota Vikings, centered around Justin Jefferson as well as Adam Thielen, and going up against a bad Detroit defense should bode quite well for Mr. Justin Jefferson. At number 6, we have Allen Robinson versus the Green Bay Packers. Like I talked about earlier, the Packers are going to be trying to win this game, but the Bears need to win this game to get into the fucking playoffs, and Allen Robinson has been very vital to this offense as well. Allen Robinson has looked very good with Mr. Mitch Trubisky under center. It started off slow this season at the beginning of the year. Allen Robinson wasn't really putting up those big games that I thought he could. Then Mr. 9-inch Nick Foles came under center, and he was balling out of control. And then recently, he's looked even better with Mitchell Trubisky, so I like him this week up against the Packers. At number 7, we have DK Metcalf at the San Francisco 49ers. Metcalf has been pretty fucking solid all season long. It is a guy that's very hard to rank outside of the top 10 with the potential that the Seattle Seahawks offense just blows their load all over that San Francisco ass. At number 8, we have Adam Thielen at the Detroit Lions. I think that him and Justin Jefferson are going to be very successful in this Week 17 attack on the Detroit Lions defense. I expect Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson to form an Eiffel Tower and just rail the Detroit Lions into the ground. At number 9, we have Chris Godwin versus the Atlanta Falcons. Again, I think that this game is going to look a lot like it did a couple of weeks ago when these two teams first faced off, where the Atlanta Falcons are going to be able to score in this game. The Buccaneers defense just does not look anywhere near as good as it did look earlier in the season. Earlier on in the season, you were thinking this Bucs offense was going to go ham, and it really wasn't. It wasn't melding too well, and the defense was just holding these teams so that Brady could coddle his way through and win the game. But recently, the offense has really been stepping up since the defense has been down. I think that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans will be able to play pretty strong in this one up against the Atlanta Falcons defense, because I feel like Atlanta's going to be able to score and keep this one close. At number 10, we have Mike Evans versus the Atlanta Falcons. While Evans is definitely much more touchdown dependent when compared to Chris Godwin, he scores a touchdown so many times because he's playing up against a bad defense in the Atlanta Falcons, and he's doing it up against good defenses. So based upon that mathematics and my equation, I think Mike Evans should be able to have a pretty solid game this week up against the Atlanta Falcons. Number 11, we have DJ Moore versus the New Orleans Saints. Now, I feel as though Teddy Bridgewater should have a solid game here, and DJ Moore should match up pretty decently up against the New Orleans Saints, as DJ Moore's kind of went from what seemed like a bust because Robbie Anderson was just absolutely butt-fucking these defenses early on in the season. It seemed like if you drafted DJ Moore, you were the biggest dunce cap wearing motherfucker in the building. Then recently, he's looked much better, and I expect another great game to close out the season for Mr. DJ Moore at number 11. At number 12, we have Corey Davis at the Houston Texans. Talked about a little bit earlier, the Tennessee Titans are going to try to rail the Houston Texans into oblivion. The Houston Texans defense sucks cock. Corey Davis is very good. I expect that this Tennessee Titans offense looks very good to close out the top 12. Now to wide receivers 13 through 24. Again, if you guys have ended up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. At 13, we have Brandin Cooks versus the Tennessee Titans. Brandin Cooks has looked pretty decent since he returned from injury. While I think the Tennessee Titans are going to go to pound town on that Houston Texans ass, I still think Brandin Cooks should look productive in this one at wide receiver 13, because I feel like this one may be a nice back and forth affair in Houston. Number 14, we have Amari Cooper at the New York Football Giants. Now, while this Dallas offense has looked better, obviously it's not going to be looking as good as with Dak Prescott slinging the rock. Amari Cooper has been consistent. Even when this offense was down bad, Ezekiel Elliott couldn't get 3 fucking yards a carry. Mike McCarthy couldn't even walk onto the field because that fat motherfucker couldn't breathe. Amari Cooper still balling, still playing well. But now with the Dallas Cowboys playing even better, Amari Cooper has an even higher chance to finish as a top 14 wide receiver this week in a playoff opportunity game up against the New York Football Giants. At number 15, we have Stefon Diggs versus the Miami Dolphins. Now, he is one of the hardest players to rank, in my opinion, this week due to my understanding of what the fuck is going to be happening with the Bills. The Bills have yet to announce if they plan on starting Josh Allen. They plan on starting Stefon Diggs. Do they plan on sitting them at halftime? Do they plan on playing them a couple of drives? If I'm being honest with you, Stefon Diggs is probably the most risky player on the board right now on your screen, basically because of that fact. Because if Diggs ends up fucking getting benched, he's not going to score too many fantasy points. That's kind of why Week 17 championships are very annoying. With that said, if Diggs is given the opportunity to play the whole game, I think he plays pretty decent up against the Miami defense, but his upside is limited due to the fact that he could get benched, as well as due to the fact that the Dolphins defense has looked very solid as of recently this season. At number 16, we have Emmanuel Sanders at the Carolina Panthers, a case of a player getting a big opportunity because Michael Thomas is gone yet again. Now, another issue here is, how do the Saints play this game? The Saints don't have Alvin Kamara. They don't have Latavius Murray. All the running backs are out in this game. So are they going to be passing? Is Taysom Hill going to play fucking running back? Frankly, I have no idea. But what I do know is that I think Emmanuel Sanders should be fine with Drew Brees under center as long as he is stuck in the game. But I don't feel like they would bench him, even if they went to the backup quarterback in Taysom Hill, if they ended up sitting Drew Brees, which I don't think they will do. At number 17, we have Robert Woods versus the Arizona Cardinals. Jared Goff is out. John Wolford is in. I have no idea what to think about this matchup. I think the LA Rams need this game, so I think they'll play pretty well. But again, the change at quarterback worries me. But then there's also the fact that Cooper Kupp's not playing, so that elevates Robert Woods as well. This is just an overall weird week due to injuries. I think Robert Woods just does about okay this week. At number 18, we have Robbie Anderson versus the New Orleans Saints. I actually feel as though I like the Carolina Panthers a lot this week, and I think Robbie Anderson, as well as Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore, are going to get a whole lot of work in this game. But one of these guys is probably going to be ending up playing like complete and utter dick. Which one will it be? Probably, in my opinion, Curtis Samuel. But again, based upon the trends of this season, it might end up being fucking DJ Moore. Just when you finally believed you could believe in him, he rails you right in the ass using a strap on. At number 19, we got T.Y. Hilton versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars defense is bad. T.Y. Hilton hasn't looked as great as of recently. He was really on fire, and then he kind of simmered down as of recently, but I think he gets rock fucking hard this week, Viagra hard, up against the Jacksonville Jaguars and puts up quite the good game here at 19. At number 20, we have Jarvis Landry versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do the Steelers take the knee? Do they bend over and just lose this fucking game to the Browns? Or does their offense look fine with Mason Rudolph, and do they keep it close regardless? The Browns are going to have to throw at some point in this game, I would assume, and Jarvis Landry being the wide receiver one in a must-win game for the Cleveland Browns, I like him at 20. At 21, we have Marvin Jones versus the Minnesota Vikings. While neither of these teams have anything to play for, Matthew Stafford, the king of playing football while completely dead. Matthew Stafford right now should be in a nursing office, maybe the hospital, maybe even 6 feet deep in a fucking grave, because this motherfucker always seems to get hurt, but he's built different. He always plays up against the Minnesota Vikings. I like Marvin Jones a lot now that Matthew Stafford is healthy. At 22, we have Tyler Lockett at the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Lockett is either going to be really good or really bad, and there's really no in-between for Tyler Lockett. If he has a big game here, you're going to be really pissed off if you sat him, but a majority of the games this season, you would have rather have just sat the guy, but his numbers get elevated and pushed up due to the games where he balls out. He dropped like 40 points in one game. Maybe it was against the Cardinals, I believe it was 40 points or 50 points, something crazy. Just elevated his total so much. He's had 30-point games, 29-point games, where he's playing really good, but then there's the other games, the down games, where this guy is just sucking his thumb in your lineup, and you just don't want anything to do with that. So if I'm being honest with you, I'd pretty much avoid Lockett this week, but he's ranked so high. Based upon upside at number 23, we have Curtis Samuel versus the New Orleans Saints. Again, this game I feel like is going to be close, but there's definitely the worry that one of these Carolina guys ends up not looking too hot this week. At 24, we have Russell Gage at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers without Julio. Russell Gage gets a nice gaping hole in that offense to fill. And Gage has been playing quite well as of recently. So up against Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, I like Gage at 24. Now into wide receivers 25 through 32. At number 25, we have Deontay Johnson at the Cleveland Browns. Deontay Johnson could be a top 10 wide receiver this week, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. But he could also fall off the complete edge of the fucking earth due to the fact that Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, is going to be starting under center. I think Myles Garrett might cave another hole in this man's cranium. Deontay Johnson definitely will suffer in this one without Big Ben, so that's why he's put here at 25. At 26, we have Antonio Brown versus the Atlanta Falcons. I feel as though this can be a back and forth game like I talked about. Antonio Brown has been pretty decent as of recently and never really disappoints. He just really hasn't had that game where he just drops a 25 bomb and starts twerking in the end zone like he did back when he was in Pittsburgh. So I don't expect too big of a game out of Antonio Brown, but he's definitely safe this week up against the Atlanta Falcons. At 27, we have Nelson Aguilar at the Denver Broncos, and for some fucking reason in Las Vegas for the Raiders, Nelson Aguilar has turned into a different breed of a human. This guy was like a Neanderthal in fucking Philadelphia. He couldn't wrap his hands around the ball for any amount of money. But now in Las Vegas, him and Derek Carr must be blood brothers or something, because he just catches the ball every single time. It's crazy. And up against the Denver Broncos, the upside is definitely there for Aguilar. But again, with this Raiders offense, you always have to worry because any of these guys could really light it up. And a majority of the time, the guy who's going to light it up, his name is Darren Waller, and he's not even a wide receiver. 28, we have Hollywood Brown at the Cincinnati Bengals, a must-win game for the Ravens. Hollywood Brown should be able to get loose up against the Cincinnati Bengals. But again, there's always risk when starting Hollywood Brown, because a majority of the games, this guy is silent like the night. At number 29, we have CeeDee Lamb at the New York Football Giants. I like all of these Dallas wide receivers here because I think Dallas may end up fucking around and winning this game and somehow making the playoffs with Andy Dalton. Now, I would like to know personally if Mike McCarthy smashed a fucking watermelon before I make this pick, because Mike McCarthy has smashed 2 watermelons and won 2 games when he did that the night before. 2 watermelons, 2 W's. I think he's going to smash another one. I think CeeDee Lamb could look pretty solid in this matchup up against the New York Football Giants. Number 30, we have Titty Boy T. Higgins versus the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be a tough game for the Ravens, and not for the Ravens actually, for T. Higgins and the Cincinnati Bengals up against the Ravens. But Higgins has looked good even with the bad quarterback play, even with the Bengals not being too hot. Higgins has still been balling, so I'll put him here at number 30. At 31, we have Michael Gallup at the New York Football Giants. Michael Gallup galloped his way into the end zone last week and saw the 666 like his name was fucking Drake, and I expect Michael Gallup to look all right this week up against the Giants. And Mr. Irrelevant, number 32, Sterling Shepard versus the Dallas Cowboys. Really only on this list because he's the only wide receiver I trust enough in New York, and they're playing up against a bum Dallas defense. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying it at any point, please make sure to hit that subscribe button with the 1-2 Mayweather. I love each and every single one of you guys. Overlay at DFS.com. Let's eat some W's tomorrow on Sunday. I love you all as always. Good boy.